Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. April 27th, 2018, another episode here of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. I've got my buddy Scott Puckett of Sorinex Tactical Application Group, otherwise known as TAG, also a sheriff's deputy and former Blackwater operator, correct?
Ooh, I don't know if I call it operator. I was a taxi cab driver.
Taxi cab driver. I don't know. It's what you guys all call each other. We're operators.
I never, operator is one of those words that's sticky, especially when you're an actual operator. I drove around in armored vehicles and then unarmored vehicles and taxied people around and got paid very well for it, and was part of a good organization. So I was a taxi cab driver, tactical taxi cab driver. There you go.
Taxi cab driver. Very, very humble taxi cab driver. I like it. So let's talk a little bit about what you do now with TAG, and then we'll kind of like loop in your history as to how you got to the point of what you're doing now with Sorinex. What is TAG?
So Sorinex Tactical Applications Group we are a part of obviously the larger company Sorinex, and we build gyms. We build strength equipment we're like in 90% of the NFL. Pop Soren, Richard Soren, built the company 38 years ago in his garage. So we're a family-owned, operated business. Bert Soren's the president. Nelson Lewis is our CFO, driving the helm there, and then you still got Pop, still innovating and building cool stuff. But we're in NFL, Major League Baseball. We just did the 76ers, colleges, high schools, SF groups, team. We got team rooms, Dev. Up in CAG, we got rooms all over the place, and we build good stuff, man. It's solid, I love the company, So here's our logo. Boom. It's our mustache. That's how you wear the shirt.
That's how you wear it.
That's how you wear it. That's right there. You always got a Bosco mustache.
You do see that stuff everywhere, like Pat Mack, of course. They run that in his gym up in Southern Pines area, and I know you've got your very own garage. I've seen.
Sure, yeah. Pat's part of the Brotherhood. Rudy Reyes, man, the list goes on. There's guys out there, part of the community, special operations community, that part of the Brotherhood. We call it a family, We got Summer Strong coming up, Summer Strong 11, 18, 19, 20 May. Mm-hmm. And it'll be like a big family reunion of sorts. Bunch of like-minded people and people interested in learning, We do NSCA, get you a TSAC. You come in and get your hours, basically your credits for training. And it's a unique time that we get together and learn. And then we, have fellowship. I like to use the word fellowship, man. We sit around the fire, eat steaks and drink a few beers and tell stories and catch up,
Yeah, men bonding.
Yeah, and plenty of women too, man. The community is full of women that are just innovative, strength, community, women and men that, not just on the tactical side, but, big part of the athletic side, coaching side. Mm-hmm. It's huge.
So how did Sorinex decide, or why did Sorinex decide to go from strength training, physical agility business into this tactical application group?
Well, it was already a natural transition in that we were already there.
Okay.
We were already building equipment for them. We already had relationships with the community, and we wanted to do more. So we have a facility we're actually building right now. Matter of fact, we're cutting 1,000-yard KD range right now. It's just waiting on some more material to come in and putting that together. We're going to have 360 bays. We're going to have rifle bays, pistol bays, covered pistol bays. We're going to have a destination location. We're going to have bungalows and bunkhouses, and so you'll be able to come in, check in, eat, sleep, train. No stress, no worry about the motel. It's going to be nice.
In North Carolina?
South Carolina, Lexington, South Carolina. That's where we're going to be located.
Okay, sorry. I know you've told me that in the past, Lexington. That's kind of center of the state?
Correct, yes. Right outside the capital of Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay, so there's an international or national airport right there to get
That's
in.
correct. CAE, Columbia.
Okay.
Yep.
Drove through there a couple weeks ago when I last saw you. I drove through Columbia. It's a pretty big city, actually. So that place, I think you guys have coined a name for it already?
Yeah, the farm.
The farm.
It literally was a farm that we purchased, and all the existing structures were there. Nice lake house. Got a 12-acre, 12-acre lake.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's pristine. So we're going to develop about half of it. The other half we're going to keep for hunting.
How many acres is it?
It's about 212 acres.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
we
awesome.
we're going to entertain clients too, entertain big clients from the NFL, NBA, baseball, you name it. We're going to use it for both, training and entertaining. But we're going to get involved with the community there locally with law enforcement and help throughout the state because, and as well as I do, Mick, law enforcement is just not getting the training. So this is our opportunity to give back. You know what I mean? It's our opportunity because the Sorn family goes way back with law enforcement, way back. So, and they've always done whatever they could to make sure that law enforcement has the access to their facilities. We got a nice gym. Super. This place is beautiful.
How did you hook up with the Soren family?
So came back from one of my rotations in Iraq and needed some bumper plates. And matter of fact, it was Afghanistan, right? And I went over there and bought a set. Matter of fact, from Big Kevin Camp House. And they were in their old facility, and I knew of them, but had never been introduced to them. So I went over there and bought my first set of bumper plates from them. And that was the rest is history. So because they treat you like family, man, if you're a good, solid person, they gravitate toward you. They draw you in. My first job was the TSAC conference up out in Vegas. I went with them, and in between those events, we would do installs at different locations. We did an install for the Pittsburgh Pirates down in Tampa. And that was a gigantic room, man. You work. When you go and do those installs, man, you work.
Yeah, it's a lot of heavy work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't mind working. I don't mind being a grunt. I don't mind getting out there and turning wrenches and lifting heavy, So that's what you do. If you're part of the family, you lift heavy. You go in there and you do the part, you know what I mean? So you lend a hand.
So over the years then, this idea was cultivated and you're spearheading it, right? The tag?
Well, yeah, so Nelson Lewis, our CFO, he led the charge on it, and now I'm taking up the torch, if you will, on the instruction.
Okay.
And leading on what we're going to be teaching. We have a wide variety, whether from concealed weapons training to advanced concealed weapons training, rifle training, different tactics, you name it, we're going to have it, and athletic related training as well. Because for me, my personal mindset is the 3 F's. I take the fitness, fighting, and firearms. And for what we do I'm still deputy sheriff. I'm a training sergeant here in Horry County, and I still believe that, and it is foundation. It's the rock solid foundation of what we should do as first responders, and that's be physically fit. Fitness. You have to be physically fit. You have to have a foundation of fitness. Vince Lombardi said, "Fatigue makes cowards of us all." Mm-hmm. Fighting. You have to be able to protect yourself, protect your family, protect your partners, protect the other deputies around you, the other cops around you, and you've got to be able to protect that firearm. Listen, it's like Tony Blauer says, weapon retention is your holster, weapon protection is you as a cop, as a keenly aware civilian that carries, exercising your Second Amendment right. You need to be able to protect that firearm. And then, of course, firearms are essential to what we do. And so firearms, to me, is critical. We have to account for every round we fire. There's no warning shots. There's no, no big deal. We're in a combat zone. That's just not the way it works in America, on the streets of America. You have to account for that round.
Heck yeah.
So that to me is important.
I just filmed a little short video here this morning in the home gym. I probably do it once every 3 months or so. I'll just film a short sequence of whatever I'm working out on. And I'm no like fitness guru or anything by any means, but like I do it as a means to kind of like show people like you don't need to be a fitness guru to do some fitness. So I have these like simple little circuits that I do. Like this morning it was jump rope, speed bag, squats with a heavy bag. I've got a bunch of different heavy bags. One of them weighs like 120 pounds. So I'll throw it on each shoulder and just do
nice.
That. Pull-ups, and then slackline work with a 75-pound barbell. So I just real quick filmed like each station for 20 seconds. And the idea, and it's on Instagram right now that I posted up with it, was and I've had this discussion with people constantly. If you truly care about protecting yourself, and you and I talk about this before, then protect yourself. Don't eat like shit. Don't treat your body like shit. Don't run your body into the ground. It's like I in the post, I told a story of yesterday or 2 days ago. I was in Springfield, our capital, for a lobby day. So there was a lot of folks I've run into just a few times a year. And a guy came up to me and said, "Hey man, I see some of your videos." And I was like, nice to meet you. And we chatted for a minute. And he goes, "I got to tell you though, some of that stuff I don't agree with." And I'm like, "Oh, well, what's that?" And he goes, "Well, the way you make fun of fat people." I said, I never made fun of fat people. Like I've never, ever said anything to make fun of fat people. He goes, "Well, you say, if people are fat and out of shape, that they don't care about themselves." And I said, "Well, I've said something like that. What I'm saying is if you care about yourself truly and you're honest about it, you'll put in effort to, and of course, if you've got like busted hip or something, or you were born with some type of abnormality that prohibits you from doing things. But I see guys constantly tipping back beers, pounding through cheeseburgers, sitting on the couch, stroking the clock, and then they're like, "I don't have time for that." Like
baloney, garbage.
Yeah, totally.
Bravo to you for doing that, brother. And you know what? You're right. Listen, I preach that all the time. My mantra is going back to the old parable. Don't teach a man to fish. Fishes for a lifetime, right? He eats for a lifetime. Well, it's the same thing with fitness. You teach someone how to train properly, how to work out, just the fundamental stuff, simple stuff. Pick things up, put it down, carries, you name it, hinges, squats, presses, all those things, simple stuff that we do every day. Then they can train for the rest of their life. That's how I train people. That's how I teach people. And I'm still very involved. I'm the wellness coordinator, as a part of my training responsibilities. And that's why, because I can't be with all these cops, these deputies, and I say, it's the same thing, just like what you just put together. That's simple training. That's simple stuff. Anybody can do that. You don't have to be a fitness guru. You don't have to have a personal trainer. And you're right. As far as obesity is concerned, listen, man, I was 250. There was a time there I was a fraud investigator for a while, and then I sat behind a desk, running details downrange for BW, and I got chunky, man. I got some blubber on me, and I got soft, I just wasn't training right. And, my excuse was I'm a power lifter. I'm a strong man. Baloney, man. You can't be that way in this job, man. So I lost about 50 pounds, about 2008, 2009, and I got back on track. And so I understand what it's like. And frankly, I'm like you, man. I'll call my friends out in a heartbeat. If I know one of my buddies and they're getting a little heavy, I'll tell them in a heartbeat. I've done it to a couple of my buddies. I see a picture on social media or something. I'm like, "Dude, what did you eat?" I snap it, send it to them, like, what are you doing? But that's what we do. We love our friends, right? That's what we're supposed to do. If I love my friends, which I do, and I'll tell my buddies, I got friends, I'll tell them I love them. I told you, Mick, I'm not afraid to do that, but that's love. That's what we do for life. We hold each other accountable. And that's the passion that you and I share for fitness, and that's important, right? So to that guy, hey, it ain't about making fun of people. It's calling people out for what they're making a mistake, and it could save their life.
And not everybody needs to look like Rudy. Not everybody's got to be a cover of a Men's Health magazine, fitness god or goddess, but because I'm sure not. But
right. Well, Rudy's he's an anomaly, man. That guy's he's truly a great guy.
He's kind of like Pat Matt, though. Like people say he's an anomaly, but then they also don't realize that those guys are in the freaking gym while everybody else is watching TV, and Pat's on the range doing air squats, and
that's right. Yeah, he's a driven dude, man. Pat, I love Pat's intensity. Rudy, same thing, man. Their intensity. And you should see Rudy when he comes to the gym, man. When he comes to Sorinex, that dude's off the chain, bro. I posted a video yesterday of some working out some silkies. And is that me? That's probably I'm messing around with a stupid Velcro. One of those.
I didn't know what I was hearing. Just making sure it wasn't something outside of my headphones.
So Rudy, man, I said this video for Rudy. I tagged Rudy in it, and of course Brandon Lilly's doing my programming, and phenomenal human beings, by the way. These guys are just examples, they exude this life, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the people that we have in our community, in our brotherhood, the Bosco brother. I say brotherhood is a generality. It's a sisterhood too. We have, I know what you mean.
It's like mankind. Right.
Mankind. And but Rudy, man, that guy, you could just feel it. You get close to him, man, you're just charged up, man. Attitude's everything. And that guy has it, man. And Pat's the same way. You get around them, you get energized, man. They're positive people.
I was on vacation with my wife this past January down in Mexico, and we just laid around for a week. And nice. I brought Rudy's book, and I read his book on the beach. Have you read his book? Some pretty deep shit. It's not. When I bought it, I wasn't sure what to expect, and it's somebody told me, I posted a picture of it after I read it, hey, great book, check this out. And somebody sent a comment on Facebook or Instagram. They're like, oh, another former special operations guy writing a book about macho bullshit. And I'm like, how ignorant that you would just automatically assume that? Because he told a few stories of his time in service, but it was about him being abused as a child. It was stories about how he uses self-talk and used self-talk to change the way he looked at himself, how he revamped his life and helps others do that. It was a very deeply emotional and passionate book, nothing to do with macho bullshit. But that's unfortunately, I think, how a lot of people perceive dudes like him. And if you don't take an honest look.
They have no clue.
Yeah.
They have no clue who Rudy Reyes really is. He's a beautiful being inside and out, man. The guy's he's a loving person. He has, and so you got to understand something too, man. This mindset that we share, and you're in the same. You understand? It's the love for the people to our left and right. You know what I mean? That we give that energy. We teach, we share. And Rudy's the same way, man. He's always willing to help those in need, anyone in need. So yeah, they got him all wrong, man. Rudy's he's a stellar human being, man. He really is.
I think that there's a lot of folks that I posted something the other day. It's fun, the social media. It gives you a lot of insights into what people are thinking about because you see their comments and such. I posted something yesterday in Cleveland. Did you see the post I put up? 2 dudes robbed a guy at gunpoint. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Ambush situation, shit sandwich, super scary. And it's interesting, hundreds of people comment, he should have smoked that guy, or, what the hell was that guy doing in the hood? All the assumptions. How do you know he was in the hood? All you see is that it's an intersection, or, somebody's more black dudes doing black dude stuff. How the hell do you know that? They had freaking hoods on. You don't know that. And then somebody that was black wrote to me, well, what about the white guy that did XYZ last week? What about him? I'm not even talking about race or creed or any of these things, but the assumptions people make. It's what's that?
Quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, people, they don't even think and pause. That's the problem with modern technology. Think about, the kings and queens of old, man. Think about how many more wars there would have been had there been this kind of technology.
Oh, geez, right?
I mean, God bless our president, man, but he'll fire off a doggone thought, in a heartbeat. I support the guy. I mean, because he's I've never seen a billionaire think and act like me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, wow, this guy, that was raised.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
My wife says, what's the saying? She says, pause for cause. So she runs a big part of the company she works at, and a lot of the people that work under her have to deal with hot-headed clients, and it's easy to say, wait a minute,
right?
Just take a breath for a second, and take a
I
breath.
do. When I send an email, a lot of times, especially if it's something that's heated, I'll give it to Misty, my wife, and I'll say, hey, read this. Let me know what you know. I've heard my friends have said, dude, you need to sit on those, leave them in the draft box and just sit on them overnight. And then,
I have a student of mine that's a professional editor, and I wrote something 6 months ago and I sent it to her because I wanted to make sure that I didn't want anybody to look at it and find grammatical errors. And I sent it over. Hey, can you check this out real quick and blast it back to me? She looks at it and she's like, well, first off, why are you so angry? And I'm like, I didn't ask you to look at the content, just look at the structure and such. And she's like, dude, you sound like you're like irate. And I'm like, oh, really? Like it came across like that bad? So same thing. Like, all right, I never ended up sending it.
Right on.
Leaving it go. But that's the truth. People look at somebody like Rudy or you or whoever, and they make a judgment like, oh, there's some Blackwater employee that's freaking, some meathead, blah, blah, blah. They don't realize the depth of the person. I think we do that same thing, even the training, it gets so one-dimensional. Get me these weapons or these blades or whatever. Give me a belt from some cool gym, and now I'm a badass, forgetting that there's a whole outside world.
Sure. I'll tell you, man, I work for Tony Blowers and MTT, and since started training with Tony years ago, and I got to understand because, I think we all have the same mentality. Heck, you look in the dictionary under self-defense and you have this physical definition, whereas self-defense is a mental, it's emotional thing. And it's like Tony always says, and I've heard it from others, that if you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail, right?
Right on.
So if we always have that mentality and we judge people on face value, we lose perspective in a huge way. We lose, we lose that opportunity to learn and meet someone, learn about them, and you meet someone new that has a different perspective than you and can share insight that's a lot deeper. So what I mean is that, like me, for instance, it's funny you said that because I bought, what kombucha is, right?
Sure, I know you make it.
So I started making it. And so I met this little girl one day to get a SCOBY so I could start making it. Basically, it's a big chunk of bacteria. And
disgusting.
Yeah. Well, Misty says it is for sure. But
I drink the heck out of the stuff.
But I love it, dude. I have to, man. It's good for your guts. Anyway, when I jumped out of my truck, I got this big truck, big tires on it, big push bumper, all that, my work truck. And she sees me jump out, and she's like, this old country boy, big burly country boy guy. I'm like, big, okay, whatever, and country boy, that's funny. I'm a beach boy, man. I grew up surfing, but it was her first impression of me.
Right. Pick up truck.
Cool. Yeah, that I was buying a SCOBY to start making kombucha because I care about my health. You know what I mean? It's important. But it was funny, we made a connection there. And she's like, can I post this? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Because that's what we do, man. We judge people. And we can't. We're blinded if we do that. We lose a perspective, and we lose a depth in our own minds, for that matter. Not to get too deep down the rabbit hole, but what I mean is,
you're right.
Now we read people. You read people. I read people. We do that for a living. We do that because it's part of our jobs, man. It's part of our livelihoods. It's part of our personas now in that sense, but it's different. We have to appreciate people for who they really are, but the only way we're going to do that is actually spend a little time and ask questions.
Sure.
Inside.
As of late, I would say probably the last couple of years, I've become very cognizant of how if I'm talking about you to somebody, here's a negative way that could go down. Like, that Scott guy, man, that dude's a douche, like, because I had a negative reaction with somebody or a negative vibe. Like, why would I want to share that with somebody? Because maybe that negativity was brought out because of my actions, but I chose because of ego to put that person in a bad light with others. And then people do it to me. Oh man, you ever heard of that, Frank guy, that dude's a super douchebag. And then you think, I'd never even met the person. This happened, Super Dave Harrington.
Oh, yeah.
So Dave and I were together, and we're in a group of guys chatting, and somebody brought up, what's his name from Tennessee? Big YouTube channel, Yeager.
Oh, yeah.
James Yeager. I've never met James in person. But we've all heard stories about him, and there's some people that love him. He's got a huge following on social media. I don't know anything really about the guy, but the gossip you hear from other people. So I hear somebody talking about him. This is maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I go, guys talking about Yeager? I hear that guy's a real douchebag. And Dave, you know how Dave talks. Dave looks at me and he gets all serious. He's like, "You know him, bro?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "You ever met him?" "No." "What the fuck you calling him names for then?" And I'm like, I'm just, and he's like, and I thought about it, and Dave goes, "I never met him until last year." He goes, "Was at the man's house, treated me like family, let me, took me in, let me sleep on his couch, let me shower, fed me, clothed me, and the guys give you the shirt off his back." And I'm like, you know what? And it wasn't that I just changed my mind about Yeager, but it dawned on me, like, how many times have I done that? Like that, such a small, shitty thing to do. And I've told that story before. And like Dave's the kind of guy that he doesn't really talk smack about anybody. Like he'll just sit and listen. But how many times, especially like in this community, be it sports or combatives or, firearms kind of stuff, people are so cliquey and aggressive towards each other. We just tear each other up. And like, speaking of Yeager, I'm sure he's a great guy, but that's part of that stuff's his persona. And he, with like a certain audience of people that like that online persona. So anyway, back to the point.
Yeah.
I've had to I catch myself like about to say something and it's like, just stop.
Yeah. And you know what? I've done it too, brother. And truth be told, I think we've all done it, but the truth be told is that, it's hard not to do that. You get sucked into that negativity. It's like, I can't. And I'm learning that big time, and I've learned it over the years. And you and I are a lot alike when we have this rough, austere kind of persona, and I get looked at that way, man. People I work, I know.
I come off rough.
You're a very sweet, tender-hearted guy. You're very kind and gentle, and very, you're meek and mild voice and all that.
Dickhead.
I am too. But see, that's our personality, man. I mean, I come across my voice. My voice is, your voice is very distinguishable. Mine is too. And
I was actually doing your voice for my wife yesterday. I was in the kitchen. I gotta hear it. Do it. I was in the kitchen doing it. Well, there you go, right there. Go ahead, man. Do it. Hey, brother, how the hell you doing, man? That's just it. You ever have yourself any of that kombucha? Yeah, man. Brewing up kitchen counter, man. It's just slimy and disgusting. It's bacteria, man, growing in a damn jar on my counter, but it's good for my guts. That's you, right there.
The boys at work, especially Kevin at work at Sorinex, man, he makes fun. Brother. I do it all the time, brother. And I do it, man. It's so funny. That is me, dude. That's me. But I think to myself, I don't sound country, but I'm from the South, dude. It is what it is.
People always tell me I get comments all the time. I'd take you a lot more seriously if you didn't sound like Dan Aykroyd. That's what I hear all the time.
I love Dan Aykroyd's voice, though.
I'm a Chicago boy, so that's
right.
The Bears,
The Bears. Dude, that was one of my favorite teams when I was a kid, man, growing up. I used to love the ones.
The Bears?
The Bears, hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
Played for the Bears in Little League, too, way back in the day.
Case old style and some Paraski or brats and sit down for a game.
That's right. I'm all about it. Hey, listen, brother, I don't care where I am in the world. I'll find a way to fit in because I love people. I love different people. Just think we all look the same, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just think if we were all the same color, we all look the same, we all the same height, weight. How boring would the world be, man? You know what I mean?
It would be.
It would be a freaking boring place, dude. I love people that different.
idea is kind of what is so striking, is that we have, like, for myself, I see these people that nitpick, like, why do you post this video with a black person in it instead of a white person? Why are you even making it about race? Like, you're telling me what's in your heart right now. Like, I'm not even thinking about race.
Why do I have to be a white man? Why does he have to be a black man? Why can't we just be a man?
Right. But your point of the diversity, like, I actually appreciate that diversity. Just
damn right.
Don't be a shithead.
I totally agree. Was it Morgan Freeman said that? Remember that interview? Was it Morty Schaefer? What did he say? He said, why do I have to be a black man? You know what I mean? Why do I, you know what I mean? Yeah. And see, that's the problem. It's like that all that bullshit gets in the way of, again, perspective, people, understanding. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think it gets in the way too of learning. If everybody is so hell bent on a certain style or certain type of training, high port, no, low ready, all that bullshit, then you don't learn. It's like, remember, Bruce Lee said it best, man, take what works, and I'll paraphrase, take what works and discard the rest. What works for you might not work for others. And that's the way we've got to think. And that's how we're going to be better at what we do, whether it be military, law enforcement, or I say the keenly aware civilian populace. And understanding that is to teach people, is to make a connection, a real connection. And it's like, I'll go back, I learned a lot from Tony about teaching and connecting with people. Don't be an instructor. You're a teacher or a coach. And I tells them, I tell people, I teach people. And you're the same way, man. You have a connection. I've seen you teach, even just getting to know you recently at S12 down here. I saw it in you. You're passionate. You like to connect with people because that's what matters. Z and then Mike, those guys, you have that same, you like to associate with that as well. Like Eric. Hey, by the way, Eric Rainwater's coming down to Summer Strong. Cool. He's going to MC for us.
Awesome.
He's gonna MC our Life Fighter Challenge. So we're doing a little obstacle course. It's gonna be fast and furious, man. It's gonna be bloody and sweaty. You're gonna freaking navigate obstacles with different implements and then address targets with UTMs.
When is that?
18, 19, 20 May at Sorinex in Lexington, South Carolina. It's gonna be a bash, man. I wish you could come, and I wish you could have seen while you were here. But you'll be back next year. Plan for next year.
Yeah,
but it's huge, man. It's gigantic. We're sold out. We're expecting over 500 people, and if it's growing every year, it's huge, man. It's a great networking opportunity. Every time I go there, I learn something new, and you never know who you're going to learn from. You'll be in the gym working out, doing something. You'll see somebody doing a different warm up, doing something, physical training. And you talk to them and asking them, they're always willing to stop and say, hey, yeah, let me show you and teach you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's really a neat experience. It's amazing. Just the amount of knowledge that's there. You know what I mean? Gunnar Peterson's going to be there. He's a pretty famous personal trainer from the Hollywood stars. He'll be presenting again this year. He presented last year. Brandon's going to present. Brandon Lilly. He's always phenomenal, man. I love hanging out with that guy. He's such a mountain of knowledge, And then on top of that, he's just an awesome human being. And then Bert Soren and Pop, he'll probably go for Pop. Since he was a kid, his deadlifted over 500 pounds. Like since he was 16 years old. Yeah, every year.
That's awesome.
Birthday, yeah. So he's always been able to do it.
How old is he now? He's in his 70s.
Yeah, man. He's a monster. He's, just what's cool is he actually came down from Jersey, way back in the day and before they lifted weights in track and field. He was a thrower, and he came from an iron culture. He came from the culture of you lifted weights if you want to get stronger. They picked up things. Period. That's how you get stronger, right? Conan proved that. Conan proved that.
I saw you throwing those Atlas stones in your backyard yesterday.
Yeah, man. So that's real strength, right? That's real strength. We can move barbells around. It's like you training in your garage, man. That's I like to be outside as much as I can because that's real strength. Plus, you get.
I need to get some of those stones. The last time I threw any when I was down with Wes Whitlock because he's got a bunch of them. I need to get a couple of those.
Oh man, cool. Yeah, Wes is part of our family too.
Yeah.
The Atlas stones are cool. They're fun. You got to do them outside. But then there's also Brute Force makes a great Atlas bag, if you will. You can fill it. So if like
you get them up to
120 pounds or more.
So you can drop that like on your a concrete floor, and
yeah, man,
it's not going to break open.
Not going to break open. You get dumped out. What's that?
What's one of those go for?
Different price. I'd have to look it up.
Well, get me some info on it, will you? I need one.
Yeah, well, we have a sand mine bag too. We have bags as well. The sand mine bag basically looks like a landmine, and with handles on it. But I like stuff like that because you can dump the sand out. And if I want to fly to like San Diego and have to be there for a conference or some training or whatever, I got to go to Washington in June, for instance, and I'm going to go out and do that VCQB course. And while I'm out there, I'm going to take my sand bag. Yeah, I'm going to dump it out and just go to a local hardware store and get a couple bags of sand rather, and fill it up. Mm-hmm. That's what's good about having implements like that. We have all kinds of stuff like that at Sorinex. So.
Yeah. Send me some links. I need to get one of those. Yeah, that's why I use heavy bags for some of that stuff, but because you got to balance them, like the one's 6 feet tall, so picking it up, it's
right on. Yeah, I do the same thing, man. And sea bags work real good too. Duffel bags.
Sure.
You can fill them up so they're odd, and kind of flimsy. It's like a body.
Yeah.
I used to train with those a lot when I was a kid because wrestling was not very big here, and there wasn't really many training parts. So I would pick up I'd go in my backyard, throw my heavy bag, or get an old sea bag and fill it up with whatever I could find heavy, and sand, whatever, and throw it in the backyard.
Good stuff.
So, and that's a big part of like river rocks. You can use freaking river rocks, for lifting odd object, getting stronger. You don't need to spend a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, for anyone out there that's going to be watching this, you need to, especially kids, younger people, or cops, you need to understand that you don't need to spend a lot of money to get strong and to get fit, to maintain your fitness.
Yeah, because a lot of people. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And you're right. A lot of people get wrapped around the axles. I guess what you were going to say about, well, I got to have this, I got to have that, I got to have this expensive gym membership. And it's like I tell some of my buddies that have been doing like conventional like bodybuilding stuff for so long. I'm like, as they get older, I'm 45. As they get older, I'm like, dude, you got to change the way you train, man. You're going to start getting injured. That stuff's not going to make you strong. You got a weak trunk. You got to strengthen the body, the trunk, the core. Strong butt, strong abs, strong ass. You got to have it.
I've got a bunch of little things that I try to do throughout the day. I've got a friend named Joseph Synagoga. You check him out on Instagram, Joseph Synagoga. I did a podcast with him. Joseph is 53. He looks like Rudy. Actually, I think him and Rudy hooked up last year. And he's got a great routine. He lives in Manhattan, all basically body weight exercises. He takes a couple backpacks. I think he's on the 38th or 33rd floor of his building. So he loads up his bags before work with a couple big chains, ropes, rings, a sandbag, and he goes down 33 flights of stairs, mile and a half walk to the park. There's a cool park that's got like a rubber mat surface in the park. So, you can like do it. And then he does his exercises, which are like 300 burpees, 4,000 pull-ups, like disgusting. Then he loads his bags back up with all that crap, walks the mile and a half back to his building and up 33 flights of stairs, takes a shower and goes to work. And people are like, how are you so fit? And then you like look at his dinner. And it's like a bowl of lentils, like he's very, very, he's a very good eater. I mean, he must eat the right things because he's super fit, and he's not skinny. He's got big, thick arms, muscles bulging out everywhere, but it's all body weight exercises for the most part. What made me think of him? There was a reason. Oh, so like he likes to talk about guys like have to go get an hour in at the gym. Well, what he'll do is 500 push-ups throughout the whole day. And I try to do that. Like I'll just, drop and do 30 or 40 push-ups. You do that every hour or so. All of a sudden, by the end of the day, you've done several hundred movements. And a lot of times that's a lot better too, because you're not smoking joints, pushing them to failure as we get older. I'll stand as I'm brushing my teeth every morning. I shouldn't lie and say I do it every morning, but I try to. I'll do air squats. You can get 150, 200 air squats in the time it takes to brush your teeth. In the kitchen, I'll put my hand on each of the 2 counters that I have. So, of course, you got to have a place to do this. And I'll do leg raises, just because I'm talking to my wife, or, I got an earbud in on the phone. I can bust out 50 or 100 reps just in a few minutes of standing in the kitchen, screwing around, waiting for something to cook or something. So it's like you don't have to, it doesn't always have to be this scheduled hour-long or 2-hour-long deal.
Exactly, and that's what makes people get frustrated. And like you make it fun, you kind of make it, kind of like, hey, I wonder how many I can do in a day. Who was it that used to do the sit-ups and push-ups, squats?
Herschel Walker.
Yes, Herschel Walker. So, and he did the same thing. You know what I mean? So
people ask him, like, what's your bench? I've never benched. How much can you squat? What do you mean? Like, that was what he said. Like, he never lifted weights. Yeah, but he did like 10,000 sit-ups a day and crazy shit.
Yeah. And he was still knocking people over when he hit them. That's a lot to do with talent, and just sheer genetics, but it also helped that he cultivated his talent and his genetics.
I like that argument of genetics, but then you look at the amount of physical, I mean, literally, like, it sounds like a lie. The amount of push-ups, sit-ups, and air squats he would do every single day. Like he said, like he would do flutter kicks for 45 minutes at a time. I'd be vomiting.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you've ever done flutter kicks on concrete while someone's spraying a freaking water hose in your face, then you need to go experience that, by the way. Go to see Mark Devine at SealFit. Well, now it's he does his Corcora camps. I don't think he's at SealFit.
Okay.
But yeah, that's an experience too. That's something you need to, you're looking for a challenge. That's fun.
And there's definitely nothing wrong with, you've got a bunch of weights, I've got a bunch of weights. It's great to lift weights, but it just doesn't, I think a lot of average people, and I'm an average person, but average people look and it gets so intimidating. Even like if I go to the gym, like we've got like do you have Lifetime Fitnesses by you? They're like the huge mega gyms. If I walked into the weight room there, I'd be intimidated. I don't know what to do with half that shit. I don't have the guys, when guys start talking like gym routines, you'd get it all. But dudes start talking about all the vernacular of, supersets and I don't know what to do with any of that.
And you know what to do with it? Nothing. You go over and you and you go over to the leg curl machine and you start picking it up and you do curls with it. you just do something bizarre, man. Go over and lay upside down and press like just do something weird, just then walk out. Before they have time to video. I don't know. I don't do anything with any of that garbage. It's garbage.
My biggest concern is not injuring myself. I was doing farmer carries a couple months ago. And just like when I'm training with the gun, like I try to be mindful of whatever I'm doing to not ingrain bad habits. Like sometimes, like especially if you're doing something for time or for reps, like I got to get 5 more in. Well, if I feel like something not feeling good, I'm dropping the weight instead of like, I'm going to do 2 more and now my shoulder's jacked up for 3 months. I had 100-pound dumbbells in each hand and I'm going back and forth at 65 feet across the basement. And I'll do a few loops. And then the problem is, as you're turning with 100 pounds in each hand, your back's torquing.
Yeah.
And so normally I stop and I carefully pivot 180 and I go back. Well, it's starting to get heavy. I was on my 3rd or 4th trip, so I kind of like swung rather quickly, and I felt, I can feel it right now. It was 3 months ago, right down here in the lumbar. Something yanked, and I set them down, and I knew, like, damn it. It was bad. It wasn't like just like, that'll go away in a day or two. It's been a couple months. I still feel it just because of something One lapse in judgment.
You know, it's funny. You know Dan John, right? You've heard Dan John?
I heard of him, but I don't know him, yes.
Yeah, Dan John's brilliant for stuff like that, man. And he preaches carries and hinges and you know, squats, obviously, but he talks about that.
What is the definition of a hinge?
Well, like a hinge movement would be like a deadlift. You know,
Okay.
Any variable of the deadlift, whether it's stiff leg or Romanians, and you go on and on and on and all that. But you're basically hinging at the hip.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, and that's where it's at, Mick. That's where it's at. Picking things up, putting it down, you know, carrying things. Think about this, man. Machines make people weak. You know what I mean? They make life easier for people. That's why farmers have tractors now and combines. And But back in the day, you saw an old man out there whipping a mule, plowing a field, you know, 100 years ago. You know, longer than that now, if you think about it, because I don't know how long tractors been around. Been quite a while now, right? About almost 100 years. Yeah. Because with the advent of machine, you know, engines.
Steam power before that.
Yeah, steam power. Yeah. So machines make people weak. That's how I tell people all the time. You know, you should be able to pick up your body weight. I think was it most recently who was I listening to talking about, like, for instance, the importance of being able to lift your body weight for like tactical athletes for a matter of reps, and that's important. There's different soft lead, there's different mountain tactical, there's different calculations people come up with as far as what you should be able to do. But what we need to remember at our age is that, you know, and Pat talks about this too. Pat Manor talks about this. We've got to be able to do it again, right? We can't just smoke ourselves to a point where we're like totally gassed and a big pile of sweat and useless. Like, we've got to be able, it's got to be repeatable, right? We've got to be able to do it over and over again. So there's no off season, for instance, for tactical athletes. And if you're a keenly aware civilian who's prepared and looking to prepare themselves, then you should think the same way. You know, like your buddy there, you said Joseph, right? Joseph Synagoga. I wrote that down, by the way. I'm going to look him up. Yeah. Because that's the way I gotta think now, is that I can't injure myself. You know, I don't have time for it. I've got way too much going on, way too much between, you know, sheriff's office and then with Sorinex and us kicking off our new project, you know, with the farm. I mean, it's just, we're traveling. Matter of fact, Ron Holmes and I are leaving tomorrow morning to go to Indiana, the Indiana SWAT conference. So, you know, I can't afford to get injured. So I train smart, just like, you know, you train smart. And mobility is huge. Muscle mass, bone density, mobility is huge as you get older. You know, cardiovascular, Dan John calls it keeping the tubes clean, keeping all the tubes and the pipes, you know, flowing. The cardiovascular, vascular, respiratory endurance, right? So keep all that, keep the heart pumping right. All those are simple things, and you don't need. And frankly, I don't want, you know, you got to be smart about it. And I'm not going to badmouth CrossFit because they've done a lot of good for the community. They've highlighted a lot of, you know, a lot of things. They've brought weightlifting back around, like Olympic weightlifting, cleans and squats, clean and jerk and the snatch and everything, and Olympic lifting. But we can't discount that. But you've got to be cautious. Yeah. You got to be wise about it. You got to be wise about, if you're looking for a coach, you got to be wise about who's coaching you. If you've got a 20-something-year-old, 18-something-year-old guy with very little training, and you're 40, 50 years old or older, you need to be very, very cautious about what they're wanting you to do. Mm-hmm. I have a friend, for instance, his wife went to a local functional fitness gym type place, you know, like a spinoff of a CrossFit. And she was doing box jumps, and she was 50 pounds or more overweight, and she was box jumping to a height that was like 20 inches. That's still too high for her.
She hurt herself at all?
Yeah, she fell off. So she, you know, when someone's obese to the point where they have no base for cardio, I'll make them do step ups, and they'll do 14 inches max, maybe, depending on. And you're controlled. You've always got one foot on something. Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe even have them hold on to something like a TRX or, you know, some type of firm object of some sort, something that's going to keep them from falling down.
What you're talking about is the huge problem when people began to take, and I'm not bashing CrossFit either, but it's never made sense to me. We always want to turn everything into a competition. Shooting has become a competition, USPSA, where like a friend of mine he's a grandmaster, and I'm watching him the other day. One of the drills is starting with an unloaded pistol in the holster. And this is just one of the scenarios. So you got to draw, load, and shoot. Well, that's stupid. I'm not walking around with my unloaded gun. Like, why am I practicing that? And I get it, for them, it's another thing to like add to the mix, but it's fucking dumb. Like, Why would I practice that? So with the CrossFit, like the CrossFit games and stuff, and I watch them when they're on TV. These people are insane machines. But when you take Susie Homemaker, I watched a documentary the other night. This woman was 250 pounds. It's something like you were talking about. I was looking at her and I'm like, with my limited bit of medical training I've had in my life, I would have told her, we're going to lay you out. I'm going to pour some water on your head. This chick was like ready to stroke out. And they're a bunch of young guys. It was a documentary on Netflix. I mean, she literally, you could see her face. I think she vomited. And they're like, keep going, keep going. It's a 45-year-old lady and she said, I haven't worked out in 20 years, blah, 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 blah. And like they gave a whole background on her. So it becomes a competition. Here was the final point I was going to make. Like, this is the same thing I tell people in class. Doesn't matter if you can beat me. Doesn't matter if you can beat Scott. It matters what you can do every day, time and time again, safely, efficiently, talking in the context of like gun handling, but the same thing with the gym. Like, what's your max bench? Like, that stuff's cool to talk about if that's your thing. I got a friend that was like my build, pretty thin, lanky guy. He's now looks like Eric after like 5 years. He's deadlifting like, every plate in the gym. He's a monster. And that became his goal. He wanted to become like a 270-pound beast. And he did it, eating like loaves of bread and whole tuna, just that's his jam. But we have this notion that, you can only do 10 pull-ups. Actually, I can only do like 8 because then this shoulder starts smoking. But and
that's exactly, and that's again, you don't judge yourself on other standards. You know what I mean? I'm my biggest critic, man. I'm my own worst critic, right? And again, it's a matter of it's saying, you know what, that's not important to me. I'm not going to let my ego dictate, my attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And towards something, especially like that, physical fitness is important. Like you can't judge your standards, what you can and can't do. It's like what compared to other people, it's what you can do.
Right.
And are you better today than you were yesterday?
Right.
What's your plan? What's your goal for tomorrow? And you keep pushing yourself. And that's, again, if you're looking for a coach, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody to keep you accountable and also push you in those, good human movement and how to coach it.
I got to add something to that. That's what you should look for in a friend.
True.
Like I was just talking with one of the guys that was at S12. I don't want to name him, but he's going through some personal stuff and he messaged me. And this was what he said. He said, he lives kind of in a rural area, got some major family issues going on that are getting pretty bad. And he said it was such a eye-opening experience for him to be around a bunch of men that let him be who he was and challenged him to be better and were not motivated by ego or concerned are these guys going to judge me for maybe talking about something that's not tough or macho and actually talk about shit that matters. And he's like, hey, I need to be around more of that. I'm sad that I can't be around you guys every day. And I said, well, like me and you right now, we're having a conversation. I'm not with you. You're not with me. I said, you can continue to be friends with all of those people, communicate with them. And we hang on to those relationships or a coach, a teacher, whoever, and it's not healthy. A relationship partner. I'm not telling people leave your spouse, but like if shit's not right and it's not, I like to take like the high view. If I go back and I look at the totality of the relationship, if this does not make me better and I don't make them better, it's probably not, something that we should be investing time in. So I just felt like adding that.
No, and it's a good point, man. And this is meaningful conversation that matters. And this is what real men talk about that are brave enough to venture into the conversation. Frankly,
that's why you're on the podcast.
That's right, brother. Yeah. Well, yeah. And thank you. And because you and we've had these conversations offline here and we both agree that this, to me, and it's like telling a kid, like growing up, my dad was that guy. It was hard for him to say, I love you. He'd pat me on the back and say, I'm proud of you, son, every once in a while, or, something, but it was hard. It was a struggle for him. So to me, it takes guts. It takes guts to tell somebody what's on your mind and be honest with them. And when you do care about them, tell them you love them. That takes guts to me. And it took guts for that kid to come out and train with you and be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It was uncomfortable for him. He was used to being in a toxic environment and understanding that. Think about how many people grow up in the hood or grow up in inner city, just poverty and austere, just terrible conditions. But they realize there's something more for them. There's something more in life. And we have to be a seeker. And I say this all the time for cops, seek those that make you better, seek training that will make you better, educate yourself, learn, understand, evolve in a positive way, and challenge yourself constantly, and find people that will do that for you and constantly push you to be more productive members of society. And I think we learned the same thing with relationships too. I know I did. And that's how I found my wife. And God bless me with Misty, because I found out along the way what I didn't want in a wife partner, right? And then I realized what I needed, you know what I mean? And she's strong. She works hard. She's a deputy sheriff. She's a canine handler. She works her butt off. She has a strong work drive, right? And sometimes I think she loves Kane more than she loves me, but
That's the dog, right?
Yeah, her dog is Kane, and it's her partner. And so, but I want her to have that bond with him, and I want her to see her as his partner, and he'll die for her. You know what I mean? Without a doubt. So, relationships are important. To sum it up, relationships are important for us in this environment, for what we do as coaches and teachers, and just normal people just trying to make it and figure out what this world's all about, man. And we must seek that in others that make us grow and are stronger. I believe very much in Stoics and their drive for life and for what's important in life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You never know. This could be your last day, on this earth. Kind of what I
come back to often, and sometimes I feel like I sound like a broken record. I'm sure my kids or wife feel that, but like I always come back to that same thing, like, not why am I here or what's it all about, but like when people have these questions of like, what's the meaning of life? To me, it's always, what do you want it to mean? What kind of man do you want to be? And that's the meaning. And if you could add religion into it, that's not really what I'm talking about. I meant more like along the lines of not in a self-serving way, but how do you want to be remembered? We've got a big cemetery down the road here that my daughter and I, when we ride bikes, we ride past. And I always gaze at the headstones, acutely aware that there's one somewhere with my name on it, But I look at those and there's a couple. One of them's as big as this whole room. And the name is Webb, W-E-B-B. I don't know the Webb family, but this is one headstone that's, in modern times, I can guess it would be six figures for this headstone. It's this ginormous monolithic chunk of granite that rises to a big point. And you think like, maybe I'm being judgmental, but like that person really felt highly of themselves to put this monument with their name that you can see from a mile away as you're driving up the road, like, this is like, remember me. Like, I don't want to be remembered like, that guy was so great. Look at all the amazing things he did. That to me is then my ego. Like this idea, what you're talking about, these relationships, it's what we leave behind in our wake. Like, we're stardust, man. What's in that trail that you just said you learned? It made me think of that country tune, God Bless the Broken Road. You know the song?
Yeah.
We spend so much time lamenting our mistakes, forgetting, like, not that we want to mitigate and say, like, oh, it's okay to make a mistake because, the next thing's okay. But those mistakes and the lessons learned, like, I have an amazing wife I've been with going on 15 years. And had I not made mistakes, married the wrong woman, got divorced, moved, and been in the position, that's the point I'm making. Like, we sometimes spend so much time giving a shit what people think about us and like what they're going to think about us after we're gone, that we don't get to just live right now and be part of that intertwined fabric of the universe, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, if the truth be told, is that
my hippie hair over my ear.
Dude, but I'm dude. It's funny. My boss at work, he says, if you weren't a cop, you'd probably be a hippie West. Yeah, probably so, dude.
With your damn kombucha on the counter.
I don't want to look like a cop, man. I like my dad. Growing up, my dad always had a beard, right? So not to get off on another tangent here, but my dad always had a beard, right? So I love a beard. I want to wear. I don't like shaving, and I don't like getting my hair cut. So I don't want to have it all the way down to my freaking back. But the truth be told, man, is that going back to the point is that what matters, man, is what matters. The essence of relationships. And frankly, I don't care what people think about me. As long as I'm doing the right thing and I'm being honest and I treat people with respect. And every once in a while, yeah, I'll chew somebody's ass out on something. But if we don't stand up for ourselves, what good? It's like Tony always talks about, and I go back to Tony because Tony brings up good points on this, is that
just so you guys talking about Tony Blauer.
Tony Blauer, yeah. So Tony talked like, are you the kind of person that doesn't want to send back your steak because it's not quite cooked enough or it's overdone, because you're afraid of the confrontation or what they may think of you? I don't know. I've never thought about it that way.
That's a good insight.
I'm not one to dwell on what people think about me. A good friend of mine one time, he was having a confrontation with a guy that downrange, and the guy says, "What do you think about me?" And he says, "I don't think about you." And so, yeah, and so I'm like, that sums it up. I'm not going to waste my mental, emotional energy on negative people, right? Yeah. So, and we got to stay away and go to a point. As a quote, you reminded me of a quote, man. And we got really philosophical here. I'm digging this conversation, dude. And and somebody's probably like, man, I can't watch this, but what? Yeah, I think so, man. Yeah. But it's not what is written in stone, but what is written in the heart of others. When you're gone from this earth, you know what I mean? Like my children.
It's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So did you raise good children? Are they contributing members of society? And did they ever have a doubt that you love them? Does your wife have a doubt that you truly love her? Does your family, people you care about, your friends, do they, without a doubt, do they know that you love them and that you truly, genuinely care about them? You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I want people to remember me. It's like what matters to me is that I cared enough to give my 100%, to teach people, to cops, to keep them alive, to teach them, to give them skills to stay alive. Other human beings. I'm biased toward women. I have 3 daughters and a wife that's a cop. A strong mother that was a great leader in our family. My sister was like my second mom. I grew up, she was real close. And they were very influential in my life. So I'm very biased toward women. I want to teach women to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. you know what? Frankly, I've got, like, my wife can fight. She can shoot. And she's fit. If something goes down, I don't have to worry about having partner backup. I know she's got my back. We're together. It's on. And so that's what matters. So, and come back to the point, man, that's the essence of life, is leaving in others what matters, teaching them and giving them something to make them better. And that's why I'm a teacher, man. That's why I'm a coach, and that's why I'm part of this the Sorinex Tactical Applications group. And Bert and Pop and Nelson see in me that I can help make a difference, that I can teach and I can give to others, and that matters. Just with you, you're the same way, man. You're a passionate person who cares about others, that wants to teach and give to make people better. You're a lobbyist. You work hard and you believe in the Second Amendment. That stuff matters, man. And that's why you and I and people like us need to be more involved in that. We need to step up.
That's why we're having this conversation. You and I, this seems to be every time we've talked, this is where the conversation goes, which birds of a feather, right? I don't want to be around. I have no problem with like water cooler talk, but yeah. I have got a friend of mine. He's about 70, lifer with the FBI, and I don't see him often. I run into him at political events. And a couple years ago, he walked up to a conversation. Bunch of guys were griping about somebody, and I was standing in the circle sipping on a beer, kind of listening. And this guy, his name's Bob. Bob walked up, and he listened for a second, and I heard him say idle chit chat. And he did a 180 and walked the other way. And he said it not to be rude, but like, I got nothing here for me. Like they were bagging on somebody that wasn't there. You know, did you hear what so-and-so did, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, he could have said nothing, but I think he said it for a reason. You know, he was 20 years senior more to everybody in the circle. Just, you know, idle, useless chit chat. I got no time for it. And that's kind of where I'm at in life. When people want to like take up my time to talk about nonsense. Now, if it was like, hey, did you see that movie, man? It was pretty cool. Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to check that out. I'm not saying like everything has to be some deep conversation.
Right.
But when there's no fruit, like it's good to unwind and cut loose, and this beer's delicious, and I love this rock song, and remember that time, like all that stuff is good. But when it's like that's the only substance, I like to tell people this is not Mickey's truth. It's the truth. We're judged by our deeds. We're remembered for our deeds, not our words. I mean, like our fathers or our mothers, if they told us one thing but did another, we remembered that. We know that. A teacher, I had a teacher in school that was always eating candy from behind his desk. That wasn't allowed, but every kid knew that Mr. C was always stuffing Snickers bars and Skittles in his face. And you remember that. It's interesting how we collectively, we want more, we want to be happy, we want to be fitter, we want all these things, but then we don't want to do what's required. Like, let's quit the water cooler chit chat and talk about shit that matters. Let's talk about how to be.
Do the due diligence.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my kids all the time. And, you know, I had to realize that I had to walk the walk. I couldn't just talk the talk. So I went back to school. I'm finishing my bachelor's degree.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, man. For me, it's big because I'll be the only one of my siblings that has a degree.
I don't.
And, well, I mean, it's not everything, right? It's like I was talking to my cousin yesterday. He's a millionaire.
You, though.
Yeah, well, it means something to me because I want to prove to my children that they can be done even at 45. So that's what matters, right? Do the due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I went so far, I gave them bracelets this year, and inside it was engraved on there, do the due diligence. They put that on, and they'll always remember that I always believe in them because that's important, you know, and you must tell people that. I believe in you. People need to know that, right? That's what matters. And to do the due diligence, to do that work, to not eat the cake, you know, because I need to lose the weight. Can you do it in 6 weeks or 8 weeks when you get to your goal? Yes. Reward yourself. But today you do the due diligence. Maybe you don't have beer. You drink some tequila instead. You stay away from the sugar because you're trying to lose a little weight. You know what I'm saying? You don't like tequila?
No, I said I like tequila.
I love tequila, especially if it's on, the silvers. Anyway, that's another podcast. We'll do a tequila podcast.
This is sipping.
Sleeping. By the end of the hour, we're done. So do the due diligence, right? I mean, you set a goal and then you finish with it, And a prime example of that is I look at a guy like Brandon. I go back to Brandon and Lilly because the guy's he's larger than life. And this guy sets a goal. He did the 100K row for Zach Brown's charity, it's a Southern House. It's a kid camp.
100-kilometer row.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So he set a goal to do that.
A single boat.
You're on a rowing machine.
Okay.
Yeah, he did that. So I want to say. And I may have misspoke there about the Zach Brown's charity. I don't think, but anyway, it's and I'll figure it out in just a second. So I definitely want to correct that because it's a good thing that Zach Brown's doing down there. And but he set a goal to do this, and he did it. That's doing the due diligence. You set a goal. I set a goal to finish my degree, to prove to my children that they can be done. I want all three of my girls to finish school. My oldest daughter's in college now. She's 20. I got another one getting ready to go this year. She graduates in June, and I got another one coming up. She graduates in 2 years. I want all of them to go to college, But I think it's important. It's to have a higher education these days, especially. But it's not the end all to be all. You know what I'm saying, brother? Because I know millionaires that they probably didn't even finish school. Think about how many that are out there.
I barely graduated high school.
Well, I mean, dude, neither did I, brother. I was a terrible student. You can probably ask some of the teachers now; they would probably laugh to think that I got straight A's right now, man. I've been busting my hump to do it, and it's not easy,
Sure.
And I don't, you can tell I'm high strung. I freaking paying attention's challenge, and I got to do it. Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly. That's one thing I got to start doing is yoga, by the way.
I finished my workout today with it.
Well, I'm going to start doing yoga because of you. You've inspired me to get back into yoga and start training again. And so I'm going to do it. It's just finding a place.
So here was what I wanted to say in response to what you were just saying. We use words like compartmentalize or like take bites out of the problem, like weightlifting, shooting. I want to retire with enough money to live on. Like if I thought about that right now, the retirement thing, it can be daunting, but what do? You save a little bit of money. I want a fit body, so I do a little bit of exercise. I train once a week and I dry fire every night. You do these things and then eventually you incrementally get better. And that's, I think, like I had a lot of anxiety through my 20s and 30s because I negated to do the right things to get the result I wanted. But then, the more mistakes you make, the more like the mountain of problems that you have around you gets bigger and bigger. And that would cause more anxiety. And then I'd like try to do more to try to rectify. And I'm talking about, bad financial choices, relationship problems because of my attitude, shit like that. And in reality, it's like all pretty darn easy. Like I see why a lot of successful people seem selfish with their time, not in a negative way, but like I'll have friends call me, hey man, you want to hook up for a drink? Nah, I'm going to head home. I just talked about this with you the other night. I'm going to hang out with my wife, have a glass of wine on the deck, let the dog run around the yard and hit the hay. Like that's more important to me than sitting in the bar talking about nonsense or whatever. And of course, as we already discussed, friends are important, but we overcomplicate the shit out of everything. And so we did a live feed the other day, and I always like to leave whatever discussion or training with some kind of positive outcome or something to do to create a positive outcome. And that's where I wanted to steer this discussion. So this live feed that I did the other day, we were talking about some legislative issues, and the discussion kind of eventually turned into, like, my mindset about like governmental problems always comes down to you and me, we the people. We elect the people, those people pass the bills that become law, and we allow them to do that because that's how a republic works. And in order to fix us, we have to fix us. So this was my charge to these men. There was like 25 people on this live feed. And I said, so here's 20 dudes on a Tuesday afternoon listening to Mickey. And that's flattering, but like, you're listening because you apparently want something. And I hope I have it. And this was my charge. 56 men signed the Declaration of Independence. Two men basically started what happened at Concord on April 19th, 1775, that became the shot heard around the world. So it doesn't take like large amounts of money or people, because the revolutionists didn't have much money. They were shopkeepers, farmers, so on and so forth. And I'm not suggesting that we start a violent revolution by any means, but a revolution of what's inside of us. Your point, your kids looking back and knowing Dad loved me. Dad fed into me that I could do whatever I wanted to do if I believed in myself. So my charge was, what can you do today? Just the 20, 25 people. And when this goes out, the hundreds or thousands of people that listen to it, what can you do, I swear for a fact, to actually have some impact? Is it be nicer to people? Maybe get out of bed and lift a little more weight so your kids see that Dad's doing something? What do you think about that? I'll show you.
I love it, man. And you're right. It starts with us individuals that have the ability to motivate others like you. And with this platform, with your podcast, for instance, and your social media outreach, and you are willing to seek, learn, understand, retain, and then teach, so that others can be motivated to do the same thing. And you're right. It's a ripple effect. It does affect others. Attitude is everything. You teach, you expect them to understand, learn, and then they if they're motivated, they'll take it and drive it and continue to do the same thing in their way. And not everybody are capable of doing what we're doing right now and having this conversation and being able to speak articulately in front of a camera and to others, because it's just not in them, or that's just not their thing. So I believe that to be what our founding fathers wanted us to be able to do. Think about it. They did it, door to door in the town hall, in the town square. They took those opportunities to speak passionately about what they believed in. And so that the people, the common people that may not have that level of education, would look to learn and understand themselves. And they say, theoretically, that all men are created equal, that we should all have the same opportunity. And I believe that, although, physically, you mentally, and we all know intelligently that not all men and women are created equal. But they thought that everybody should feel that way, that everybody should think that way, in the sense that they have the same opportunities. And that we do in this country. And if we don't hold on to this republic, what's left of it, don't learn from those mistakes, and we allow people to constantly chip away at our rights, then we're gonna shame on us. Each generation has that responsibility, and I believe that wholeheartedly. People like yourself, here we are. We have that opportunity to continue to teach that, understand that, and understand and not make the mistakes and learn from the mistakes of others. You know what I mean? So I believe in it 110%. We should be doing that, every one of us, in our own way.
So what are some things you think? I built up to that because I just like I don't go to the gym because I can't afford a $200 premium membership. We overcomplicate things. Like, I got the cops called on me the other day for trimming some dead trees across the street from my house, which is land owned by my community that I live in. There's no association. The cops came. I explained to them everything's okay. And what's comical is somebody would have rather there be a dead tree there that was falling in the road than me do it without their permission. And it made me chuckle because for 7 years I've taken care of this strip of land. So here was my point in that is like we humans, we inject ourselves into things that are important to us. Like that, I thought I was doing the right thing, taking care of a piece of property that all the neighborhood kids play on and such. Somebody else thought they were doing the right thing, calling the cops. So where our motives lie, and I don't know who called or whatever. It doesn't matter. I dealt with it, and that was the end of it. But like our motivation, I think that person's motivation was to be an asshole. And I hope they listen to this wherever you live. You're an asshole. Just kidding.
No, you're not. You're not kidding. I agree with you, and I second that person because, come on, seriously.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was
dumping trash.
No, I was. That's the other thing.
Hey, I don't. This is an abandoned lot. I'll just throw some garbage in it. You know what I mean?
Clean up the trash. I go out there with a garbage bag a couple times a year and clean up all the garbage that people leave out there. But anyway, like to me, that is a simple thing. It's a simple expression of I care about my community. I'm going to grab my chainsaw and some safety glasses and go whack up this garbage. And the cool thing is, like, all the neighbor guys come and they take it and they burn it in their campfires in the backyard and stuff. So like that is something extremely simple. I'm not telling anybody to go cut trees down on public property, and it's not public property, it's private property. But like that's very simple. I didn't start a non-for-profit. I didn't go to Sri Lanka and drill wells for people to get clean water. Something very simple, you know? So like that is, I think, the stumbling point for most people. Okay, I hear you guys, but I don't know what to do.
So I would say this, and I'll give it from a law enforcement officer's perspective, and that is start simply. Just that, that was an act of being a contributing member of society. And it goes to the point of watching your neighborhood. I'm very, very keen about what goes on in my neighborhood. When I'm home, if I got my garage door open and I'm training in the garage, doing the yard, whatever, or just coming in and out of the house, I'm always paying attention to what's going on. If someone belongs, they don't belong. Everyone else should be doing that in their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you gotta break bread with everybody in your neighborhood, but you at least need to know, well, that's normal, that's abnormal. Pay attention to what goes on and be a good witness. You know what I mean? If nothing else, if you can't physically act to stop crime, and exercise if you feel comfortable and you have the ability, your Second Amendment right. Carry. And I had this conversation the other night with a couple people, for instance, and they asked me about what my thoughts were about concealed carry. I said, every law-abiding American citizen should exercise their Second Amendment right if they feel comfortable doing so. I'm thankful that there are people out there that are not law enforcement that carry, because if I'm getting my butt kicked on the side of the road, I don't have a problem 1 ounce, 1 second, 1 moment of them stepping in and helping me. And how many stories have we read recently and over the years of countless acts of that heroic bystander stepping in and saving a cop's life or others' lives. Mm-hmm. And that's what we should do as Americans for one another. We should speak up against injustice. We should speak up against abuse. We should stand up for the weak. That's what we should do. If you have the aptitude, if you have the ability, then do it. And listen, it's like I tell people, this badge that I wear doesn't make me who I am. I make this badge what it is. Either I'm a good person in that uniform and behind that badge, or I'm not. I strive to be a good person. I strive to do what's right. Am I human? Do I make mistakes? Yes. Are there cops out there that do bad things? Yes. But there's still so many more that do good. And we should appreciate that. And we should appreciate the people out there that are willing to help, that are willing to do the right thing. I treat human beings like, listen, I approached two guys yesterday. I was going to Best Buy to pick up some of those doggone earbuds. I finally got a set because I got tired of trying to match up my doggone phone to different devices. So I go there. I see a cat leaning up against the wall, smoking a cigarette, looking very suspicious. I just go up to him and go, and I'm in, party. I'm in civilian clothes, but I got a badge on. You can see that I'm a cop. And I'm not concealing it, but I got a badge on. And he goes, and I say to him, hey, man, what you doing here? He goes, I'm waiting on a ride. He realized what it is. I said, all right, cool. I said, you realize why I'm asking you, right? He goes, well, no loitering. I said, no, man, you look suspicious. I said, you're leaning up against the wall, smoking a cigarette. You know what I mean? You don't look like you belong. You don't look congruous to the environment. I didn't say that because he probably wouldn't understand what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I said, but you don't look right. He goes, oh, man, well, dude, I appreciate that. I'm just waiting on a ride. It's all good. I promise I'm no trouble. I said, cool. He goes, man, my peepaw or mawpaw, whatever, as far as his grandfather, he was a cop in a local agency a couple cities over. And he goes, he would appreciate how you spoke to me. I said, dude, you're a human being just like me. I said, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't have a problem asking you why you're here.
Yeah.
You just treat human beings like human beings, right? That's what it's all about. And that is the essence of I think for cops, especially these young kids, they don't know how to treat people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, understanding human people, understanding human beings, understanding how to talk to people, understanding how to connect to people, that's important, right? Tasers and pepper spray and all these things that prevent us from having that contact. There's that intimacy and violence, right? So if you're afraid of that as a cop, you probably need to find another job, frankly. Because it's not a safe job. It's a dangerous job. Look at the incident that happened in Florida in Gilchrist County, Trenton, Florida. Two cops trying to go get some Chinese food. Dude walks in and ambushes them, then offs himself. Right. I started looking at the stats in that city. That city is like a quarter of the size of the area that I live in. And I looked it up online, and it's probably ranked one of the highest, safer towns in America compared to us in this area, in the Myrtle Beach area. And so it's perspective, right? We look at the perspective here. The perspective is that shouldn't have happened there, but it did. And that's the way you got to think. It's not if, it's when. So I would say act as a keenly aware civilian. Act, be proactive, train, learn, understand, and protect your family. Don't be a victim. Don't have a victim mentality. Don't expect the cops. Tony says when seconds count, cops are minutes away, right? And I agree with that 100%. Because you should be your own bodyguard. You should be able to take care of yourself. And I say, as a cop, you should train your skills, fitness, fighting, and firearms. You should be prepared. You should be learning your community. You should learn people. You should understand people. You should be able to read people. Because 60% of communication is body language, right? 30% is the tone of our voice. So we should be able to understand people. And as a military, it's about fighting to protect this country. It's about learning your skill to basically kill the enemy, period. That's what the military is for, to protect us in America, protect our Constitution. And so knowing these things and being able to move in and out of these different roles, if you will, is important. But let's make it simple. Start small. Start what you can affect in your community, what you can do personally. Mm-hmm. Learn yourself, right? Teach, learn, or learn, right? Read, seek, read, understand. Seek, learn, understand, retain, gain, and you'll be a better person for it, right? Contributing member of society. And that's that. Just remember, how do you eat an elephant? How do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time, right? Like you said, keep it simple. Don't over. And as you grow, as you have that understanding, that metacognition, as you have that ability, proprioceptual awareness, as you learn your body, you learn things around you, you'll grow. You'll understand as you age and mature, your brain will absorb more. You'll have a better perspective. Like you and I having this conversation right here. There's no doubt in my mind. 20 years ago, it would have been difficult. It would have been hard for me to understand it. 30 years ago, you know what I mean? Well, more like
I'm gonna think about that for a minute about myself. I've always been not to bash on my father. I doubt he'll ever listen to this, but he was always very disconnected from a conversation like this. You and I've talked about this. So I always kind of sought out men that could kind of answer some of the questions we're talking about. And I found some. I got a buddy of mine that just turned 70 that was a Vietnam veteran. He's a tunnel rat in Vietnam and has some crazy stories. That guy, I was probably 20 when I met him. So almost 30 years or 20 plus years ago. He'd hug me. At first, he was the biggest asshole I ever met. I thought this guy is just a grumpy prick. And then we connected like within the first year. And I'd see him and he'd hug me, give me a big hug, and his head comes up to like here on me. That's why they made him a tunnel rat when he got to Vietnam. And I love you, kid. And he jabbed me like a few times in the guts. And then I just talked to him for his birthday the other day. And he, due to experiences in life, had that acute awareness of how fast, like you said earlier, you can be gone in an instant. And his choice was, if I love somebody, like you and I talked about before, I'm going to tell them I love them. I don't give a shit. What are you going to do to me? There's nothing you can do to me that I haven't laid in bed at night and tortured myself about, or I've had done to somebody else. So, fuck you. I don't care. And that's kind of like, so your point of you couldn't have that discussion. I don't know. I don't know if I could or couldn't either. I know I wouldn't have had a lot of the things to say. I'd be listening to you and being like, okay, like, can we talk about chicks now or something?
No, you're right, man. And you need that. As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, right? And I've sought that in my life, that yin and yang balance, right? I'm high strung, so I tend to seek people that have this kind of balance about them, this zenness, they're so like my boss, like my mentor, Tom Fox is chief here. And, he was my SWAT team commander 20 years ago when I was a punk kid working for the county police. Okay. And so I'm high strung, high energy, go, go, go. And, and he always say, I'd rather have that and I can harness that. I can rein that in than someone that I have to push and motivate, especially in this job. Right. So, to me, you need that. You need that mentorship. You need to find someone that that sharpens you. And I think you and I are a great example of that, because I think, you're an honest, hardworking person and who believes in right and wrong. And you're successful. And so I look at you as someone that I can try to hang on just a second. All right. Take it easy. So, hey. So we have 4 dogs, right? And I guess my wife's home. So
tell her I said hello.
Yeah, I'm going to tell her to come in and poke her head in as soon as she gets there and calms the herd down. So best alarm in the world. If you've ever hesitated about having a dog, you'll never get burglarized if you have a house full of dogs, right?
That's even true.
So, and that's proven. Burglars have admitted to that. They don't bother houses with dogs. So my point is that as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. You need that in your life. You got to have that. You got to learn. You got to be able to help you, bring you up. I don't associate with people. And I'm at a point. I say I don't associate with people, but I'm getting to a point now in my life where I want to mentor. And I've mentored younger people through internships and through relationships at work. And I remember, and I realize now that, man, they're watching me. Mm-hmm. So I need to set that example now. At 45, I'm in where I'm at in my career, 23 odd years in the law enforcement security field and doing what I'm doing in teaching and coaching, is that now I am that page is turning. And so
you're okay. Really hear you good.
So now it's my turn. My opportunity to they won't go away. They're ringing the doorbell. This is awesome.
Maybe you're getting served papers.
Then I'm definitely not going to go answer the door. Hopefully not. The wrong answer. Go away.
He doesn't live here.
Right. So, yeah, getting served sucks. So, hey, that's enough.
Ooh, they listen. Nice. I everything you just said resonates with me. 10 years ago, I would have never thought that one day I'd be sitting having discussions like this, like maybe something macho, like showing people how to like climb trees or something, but not doing this. But I've realized in my own life, all those other things aren't what changed me. I don't come to this, to the point I'm at now, from like, I've made all the right decisions, and so I'm going to tell you what to do. I come to this point because I've filed bankruptcy, lost a home, went through a terrible divorce, raised kids, lived in my parents' hayloft for a short while through winter with no heat because I didn't want to be around people, drinking a freaking bottle of vodka to fall asleep, had handcuffs put on me before, had to stand before a judge, tears falling, like a little sissy boy because I did something stupid. And so like the totality of all that stuff, it's like, all right, so there's like a path that took me to that place, and there's a path that can go somewhere else. And it's all just simple choices, man. And I think we either have the choice to listen to the wrong people because it's easy. That's why I called this podcast the Higher Line Podcast. People like, there's a million guys that if you want to talk about what's the best gun or holster or who the best shooter or trainer or whoever is, there's many guys that I'm friends with that know way more about that than I ever will. But like, let's walk a higher line. Let's walk a higher path. That path will provide you anything: money, happiness, the hottest woman in town or hottest dude or whatever. It'll provide you with a fit body. It'll provide you with a trophy that makes you the greatest shooter or basketball player. It's all the same shit. It's just how you apply it. You can apply it to, you could be the best doggone gator wrestler in the whole state of South Carolina, if that's what you wanted to do, right?
I think that's like a Mississippi thing.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. I know there's some gators down there, though, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, we have some swamps. Okay. We don't like swamp people, but yeah, you're right, man. And it is, and I love that too. I love that title because it resonates. You know what I mean? We must take a higher, if we want to be, better humans. Period. We have to take a higher approach. We have to step higher. We have to climb higher. Because people are going to try to drag you down too, man. You got to stay away from them. I call them time vampires. They suck time out of you. They suck life out of you.
Yeah.
They're like crabs in a pot. Crabs in a pot, dude. They freaking, you boil them alive and they start pulling each other back down in there.
Trying to.
That's a southern thing, man. We
don't have crabs here in Chicago, but
there's no crabs out there by the lakes, huh?
Not unless you date the wrong girl. No.
Yeah.
There's something
weird going on down there.
There's a famous saying that was attributed to JFK, but I read once that it was actually a marketing ad for a local chamber of commerce. A rising tide raises all ships. You said that the last.
Yes, man. Yes, I love that one.
So, that was some marketing guy at a chamber of commerce in New England somewhere. Said that in the 50s or early 60s. So I use a lot of self-talk. I talk to myself all the time, trying to program my supercomputer. And one of the things I say to myself is, be the tide, be the tide, be the tide. Like, I don't want to be one of the ships that, now there's not, this analogy is a very specific analogy though, because sometimes you're the tide. I'm listening to you. You're telling me something that's building me up. But like in a certain situation, not just like, Mick, you're going to go out there and raise everybody up all day. That's not what I mean. But like in a situation where you can choose to tear down, you can choose to build up, be the tide. It's not always easy. And if people want to say like, oh, you're a puss because you took the higher path, your opinion's meaningless.
Ignorance.
Yeah.
That's ignorance. And you see that quite a bit, man. And unfortunately it happens with ignorant people, and you hear people in the inner city talking about that, and they grow up in these terrible lives, and these families and these neighborhoods. They push each other back down because of that. They don't want, they call each other names for going and studying and learning and trying to better themselves, and it's just ignorance. And we have to seek out those that are like yourselves that are willing to help one another. You know what I mean? And it's not that we're trying to just get something from someone. That's not what it's about. It's about you get when you give. You know, I gain a lot when I coach and I teach people, you know, and I see that light bulb going off, man. And I hear them at the end of it, you know, hey, you know, I appreciate you, you know, coaching me. And I was really nervous, you know what I mean? And that helped me. And I didn't expect that. I've had grown men, and you know, we did our rifle training at the sheriff's office, you know, say, hey, man, I thought things were going to go a little different. You know, I didn't realize, you know, how good you're going to coach me and teach. And I appreciate the way you helped me, you know, get through that sticking point where I was nervous, you know what I mean? And you made this a little relaxing. And people learn that way, you know, you learn in a relaxing environment. And so that matters, you know what I mean? That's important, man. And it's critical that we continue to do that. And again, it's perspective, you know, your attitude and perspective. And if we don't do that, we lose, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Denial and apathy, people with apathetic attitudes about things, is that status quo. That status quo drives me insane, especially in law enforcement. There's way too much of it going on now. There's too much of it, like this is how we've always done it, and you should just leave it be. And you know that gets people hurt.
Yeah,
you know, the retired on duty mentality is dangerous.
Yeah,
and unfortunately for law enforcement, too many people that sit in civic offices control how often cops get to train. They control the purse strings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really sad, because, you know, we're talking about people's lives here. You know, we're talking about people, the cops, you know, and the civilians, the people that they've sworn to serve and protect. If they can't train, if cops can't train, if we can't train, then what good are we?
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of cops, we talk about this, self-fund. They pay out of their own pocket to go to training, because they believe in what they do. It's a noble profession. It's a noble profession to do what we do. I've always looked up cops. I mean, my mom and dad had friends that were cops, and I got to sit in the patrol car and listen to the radios back before they had the walkie-talkies. And I got to listen to the radio and smell the smells and the leather and see the uniform and hear this man, you know, a noble man, old McDonald, you know, that was his name. And he was a local police officer here in Myrtle Beach. And he was an example to me. And then we had another friend my mom grew up with. He was a cop, and he helped me get on, Tommy Timberlake. And he helped me get on at Myrtle Beach, you know, and they were positive people. You know, to me, you know, I looked up to these men, and they were human men. They made mistakes just like anybody else, but they were examples, you know what I mean? So seeing that, I wanted to continue that and treat people like they should be treated, treat human beings like they should be treated until they give me a reason otherwise. That doesn't mean that I won't be assertive, that I won't deal with the situation based on how I'm seeing it and perceiving it. But, you know, I've learned that there's a balance there. You know what I mean? We can't run into every situation with a negative attitude and treat people like garbage. But and if we don't teach these younger cops coming up that ability to connect with people, then we're going to continue to see problems and a disconnect between the people that we serve and the men and women in uniform. You know,
mm-hmm.
I want to see us grow. I want to see us learn. And that's another reason why TAG is building relationships with local law enforcement here in South Carolina and anywhere all over the country for that matter. We want cops to be better.
Mm-hmm.
We want them better prepared, better trained to face the dangers of what's to come. And as you know it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The degradation of society, the moral degradation of society, it continues to fall. You know, it continues to get worse, and we've got to deal with it. We've got to meet the demands of the population in this country. The only way we're going to do it is by training, scenario-based training. You know what I mean? And stressing ourselves out, like having D-Day come down and train us, you know, doing the TCCC training. Mm-hmm. That was phenomenal. Chaos, man, learning through chaos. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Cops need to see that. They need to experience that. because then it's just, it's another day. It doesn't stress you out.
How do people, we'll wrap this up because we've been at it over 2 hours. How do people,
wow. Really?
how do people, I just looked down at the clock. How do people find you to find out information about TAG?
All right. We are at Sorinex_tactical on Instagram and Sorinex.com. And our website we'll have a website up for Sorinex Tactical coming up soon. That's down the road. Yep. Tag. Let's see. Here's my boom.
There you go.
Yeah, baby. Yep.
So if you just punch in Sorinex, I'm sure there's a link on their homepage that'll take you to the tactical side of things, right?
Yeah. So we're still building the curriculum there for that program, so we haven't launched that website yet, but that's coming down the road. But Sorinex_tactical, we have the sit sled, stress-induced tactical training sled, and it's a range-based fitness implement. It's for strength, not for marksmanship. We build strength. We build implements that help build strength, right? That's what we do at Sorinex. Me personally, I'm at Scott Mo Puckett on Instagram. I'm always trying to find and build and share cerebral training advice, anything I can help to simplify the process, the journey, if you will, of physical fitness, what I call, like I said, 3Fs, fitness, fighting, and firearms. Again, or you can, if somebody wants to reach out to me, if they have a question, it's scott@sorinex.com.
Easy. Scott, it was great to talk to you. I look forward to seeing you again in person sometime soon. I know we're talking about possibly coming back down to do another class by you. Maybe you'll think about taking some time and coming to our next S12 event, which is in August in, what is the name of the town? Bonacqua. I don't know if that's how they pronounce it.
That's PA, right? Pennsylvania, right?
No, Bonacqua, Tennessee, which is just another one. Yeah, just outside of Nashville. 450-acre private property. It's got a mansion, cabins, range on site. So this is a paid event, so anybody that's interested in coming, we're going to have D-Days doing their medical training again. Instructor Z is going to be there. I think Bob Keller is going to be there. So it's going to be badass. We're going to put them on. Yeah.
Especially since Bob's going to be there too. It's hard to catch up with that cat, and he's always on the run a lot. So.
He's going to be up here on the 18th, 19th during your thing. Otherwise, I'd be flying down there to see you guys. But if you guys want to get more information on that, carrytrainer.com, and of course, Sorinex.com for more information on their products. If you see that big sweet mustache, you know whose product that is.
I love it. We're gonna do it right.
Hey, before we go, what rifle is behind you? Is that a Sharps? What is that?
Hey, yeah, man. So this is a Springfield. This was passed down through my family.
A trap door?
Yeah, man.
Okay, I see it.
So a little bit of work needs to be done to it, obviously, but this thing's been in my family for generations.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
trap door Springfield.
Nope. My father gave me this. He passed away a couple years ago, and he made sure that I had this. And this
those are like a 54 caliber or something.
Yeah, you probably know a lot more about it than I do, man. I need to.
I don't know too much about like some of that historical stuff, but I kept seeing it back there. That was like 1880s, 1890s. I think those things came into
Spanish-American War era. That's what I was told. Passed down from the family. From one of my ancestors that fought there in the Spanish-American War.
Look at the size of that barrel, man. It's as big as your thumb.
Is that crazy?
Can you imagine getting hit by that? Damn. Yeah, that's serious business. Like a half a pound lead mini ball doing 800 feet per second.
Yeah, I'm definitely, that's one of my prized family possessions passed down, man. I'm very proud of this to have it.
Cool
history. Yeah.
Shadow box or something for it on the wall.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Misty, I'm like, hey, I want to put it over the fireplace and put it in the living room there on the mount. She's like, keeps changing the subject. She don't want to do it.
There's a funny comedian, just in closing, my wife and I heard it years ago. He's talking about you meet a girl comes to your apartment, like whatever, and then you marry them, and then you got to move in together, or you're going to move in and the girl's like, oh my God, look at all your stuff. It's so stupid. And like all your shit ends up at the curb, you're like, my wife has good taste, but any piece of art, and I think I have good taste. I've got some nice art that I've purchased over the years. It's all like in the guest bedrooms and shit. None of it's like in any of the living spaces. Like,
where all my stuff is. In my office.
That's me down here. I've got the basement. Like,
right.
That's funny.
By the way, too, Camp Southern Ground is what it was at Zach Brown.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Camp Southern Ground. I finally looked it up, but that's definitely the case. For me here at the house, all my stuff, like just little things, man. Like my dad's boats that he built, and little stuff like that. My mom knew that I would be the one to keep it, because I'm not a pack rat, but I'm sentimental that way. I think this is my history. These little pieces are these little things, baubles, whatever you want to call it, they're my history. You know what I mean?
Threads in the fabric of your life.
That's exactly right. Dude, I love you, man. Steve, you got this essence about you, brother. I
love you more.
Yeah. But damn, I can't believe we did 2 hours, man.
Yeah, it's easy when you got good
Joe Rogan podcast.
Who's he? I'm just kidding. Actually, people seem to dig these podcasts. We put them up. So this goes up on Google, goes up on iTunes. They go up on Stitcher, which is another like podcast host site. It goes up on one other podcast site, and then we put it. The video version of this will go on YouTube. And then there's links to all of them on our website. So people, there's all these different apps to download podcasts. So people seem to be digging them. And this one will be fantastically received, I'm sure. This is for a specific audience. And what's great about having you on, based on everything that we talked about, the guys that listen to this stuff are the 20, 30-year-old guys trying to find answers, better ways of living, better ways of growing, better ways of being a dad, a husband, a leader. I'm sure there's some women that listen to it, but I've noticed, just like at our course, you got a lot of young dudes looking for some mentorship. So
it's important, man.
It is.
It really is, because in days of old, in our neighborhoods, in our churches, in our communities, men and women were able to do this on a very personal, intimate level. Whereas now we are so spread out. We have to have this technology. I listen to these podcasts. I listen to your podcast when I travel, when I'm going back to the office, and just on a daily basis, man. Every moment, just like you, man, I'm so busy that I want every moment to be a productive moment, whether I'm making phone calls on the road like you do, or I'm listening to a podcast that has a meaningful message.
Mm-hmm.
That's important. Don't fill your brain full of garbage.
Amen.
There's times for that. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not going to call my wife's TV show Friends garbage, but when I just want to turn my brain off,
garbage.
I'll sit with my wife.
That too.
I'll
there for you,
dude. It is like I just sit there and just turn my brain off. I'm like, she goes, "What do you want to watch?" I'm like, "I don't care." So what comes on? Friends, rerun, Netflix, Friends. So there's times for that, right? Yeah, exactly. There's times for that. But most of the time I'm surfing Instagram, surfing the social media, trying to figure out what's going on.
The point you just made, my last thought about the men mentoring young dudes. I remember being at the barbershop, male teachers, male coaches, pastor, even just dudes around town. I remember a couple times getting myself in some kind of trouble, and like a local adult male, it was totally normal 30, 40 years ago for him to slap you in the head and go, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And I'm not suggesting we hit children or anything like that, but and there's something to be said where you said women too. Yes, we don't want women to be left out of it, but there's something about, and it's not about sexism, like a woman can't change oil or something, but there's something about a couple dudes. Like I have many memories of being out hunting with older guys, watching how they walked, listening to how they talked, or even the guys in the barbershop. We have local barbershops here, like the old time barbershops, you know, listen to them talking about Cadillac versus Lincoln. And you learn in that environment, good or bad. And that only can be passed on. It's like you said, sitting around the campfire earlier. Back in the day, it was a bunch of dudes, ball sacks, hanging out, squatting around the fire, eating meat, you know, talking about who they just bludgeoned to death in the next camp over. And that was how we made who we are.
It was a debrief, you know, and there you are, and you're right. You know, that's what we did, and we've lost that, right? And that's why I think a lot of mental and emotional problems, especially coming from conflict, you know, whether it be cops or militaries, that they're not letting that stuff out. You know what I mean? You gotta decompress that stuff. You gotta let it out. Sometimes you just gotta watch Friends, you know. Sometimes you just can't think, but you need that like you said in the community, man. And it's the same thing with me. I mean, I was a bad kid, man. But it made me a good cop. But it took people from the community, older guys. I remember one year, me and my buddies out just being crazy, and this old county policeman here, he grabbed us and snatched us up, made us pour our beer out, and you know, we had us on the side of the road, and you know, and he says, "Merry Christmas." It was like July. He's like, "Merry Christmas." I can go home. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll never forget that, dude, because I don't know how many times, especially down here, senior week, all the kids coming here, that I've made kids pour beer out, you know what I mean? And gave them a lecture, you know what I mean? Stop drawing attention to yourself. Don't be stupid. You don't need to be down here doing this, and give back and passed it forward, that same lesson for kids, because they needed that, you know what I mean? And that's what we're missing, and we need more of that in this community. And I think this is what we're doing right now. And we're able to do that on this platform, with your platform, and someone's going to gain something from this conversation, I think. You know what I mean? Because I think we've had a good conversation here, man.
I gained something from it. I appreciate it. We'll do it again, man. If you think of something that you want to talk about, or we can just, kind of free flow like we just did, we'll definitely do it again. I appreciate it.
Shoot, I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot for letting us come on. And again, Sorinex_tactical, Sorinex.com, and Scott at Sorinex.com. Easy to find.
Mo Puckett with two T.
That's right.
M-O-E.
M-O-E, yep. That was a nickname I picked up when I was a kid here in Myrtle Beach.
SCOTTMOEPUCKETT. That's
correct. Okay. That's me.
Cool, man. Have a good rest of the day. Have an awesome weekend.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody, for viewing.
Yeah, later, brother. Take care.
Visit our website, carrytrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Carry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@carrytrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@carrytrainer.com or carrytrainer.com.